All right, before this one starts, I wanted to give out this disclaimer that we start this one with a lot of, excited. We're ready. We're excited emotions, and we're goofy. But it takes a turn, and we didn't even expect it to get to this to turn and or talk about this early. But it gets, we talk about our the whole journey of the birth of our first child.
Mhm.
We don't go into super detail. Don't
No.
worry about that. It stays PG, and then it gets on some frustration with just personal things around being out of work,
Mhm.
and then it goes around loss of a parent. So just a forewarning that it's kind of a roller coaster of emotions.
So if you are not emotionally ready to talk about any of those topics, whether it be I'm not even gonna list the issues that could come with it, but if you are not emotionally and mentally ready to hear or talk about those kinds of issues, please don't listen.
Yeah, like if you just recently lost a parent, just keep yourself in mind that if it's too close to home, give it some air.
Yeah.
Come back when you're ready. But yeah, so this one gets there.
Yeah.
Starts off strong, but it gets there. The
Yeah.
big
It
one.
took a really sharp turn really fast that we were not seeing coming at all.
So yeah. So, but also get ready for the very beginning because it's loud. Yeah,
Yeah.
we started off pretty loud. So enjoy, guys. Hi. The way to say e
E is
is to
to say
say e.
e
Yoy.
yoy.
Welcome.
My cheeks are already hurting from how much we've been laughing before even starting to record. It's been an absolute, like, not a shit show, but it's just been,
Ah,
we've been goobers.
goobers.
Goofy goobers. Real hooligans.
So it worked for me, and I guess it worked for you. But before
Oh,
starting this,
yeah.
we took a ride on my bike today.
His motorcycle, not like a,
My
not a
bicycle.
pedal bike, but a motorbike.
My pedal bike.
Mm, I don't know what that was. My pedal bike.
But it's like 52
I was
degrees.
standing on your pegs.
Yeah, 52 degrees, and you were unfazed by the cold,
Because I had
but I
you
was
as a
shivering.
shield.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, if anything, this will kind of wake us up and get us nice and going,
It
get us
relaxed
energized.
me. It relaxed the shit out of me.
It doesn't sound like it.
Okay, I can tell you, like, the whole bike ride, I was like,
Yeah, because we finally got your music to work on your
yeah,
helmet.
that was nice being able to hear the same shit
It's
you're hearing
amazing. It's not. It's
and
it's
not hearing just
amazing.
silence.
Yeah, there's a big
Excuse
difference to
me.
just hearing silence and just hearing constant
Mhm.
and to hearing our
Well, and
playlist
it's
that we
like
put together
in
just
hearing
for that. Just for that reason.
yeah, well, and it's like sometimes not listen like before not listening to music, it was okay because I was left alone with my own thoughts, and I could actually, like, pay attention to the
Your own
shit around me.
thoughts?
Yeah,
Thoughts?
my thoughts, my Cardi B's.
Your train
Um
thoughts. Get Cardi B off the train. I'm bringing that back up. Somebody told me that was a good idea. I was onto something.
"You're alright, boy. Yow."
What? What are you talking about?
Because remember the last time I said it's like if Cardi B was in Red Dead because Cardi B on a train?
Yeah.
And so
Where
I
did the
said,
yowl come
"You're,"
from?
because that's what she goes, "Ow.
I'm
Ow."
sorry. I don't listen to Cardi
"You're
B.
alright, boy. Ow."
Yeah, welcome to this. This is
Oh.
there he is.
Starting off strong.
I think that was more obnoxious than how we started this.
Mhm.
That yow.
Ow. Meh.
You want to talk about our journey so far with Jay?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We are 10 months in, almost 11, and she's an absolute sweetheart. Um, after
I'm gonna make. Sorry,
yeah, you're good.
I'm gonna make a. This is gonna be a sandwich. We're gonna start with our journey
Okay.
with parenting
Mhm.
with our daughter, and then I'm gonna get frustrated.
Oh,
Ah!
okay.
And then
Well,
I'm gonna get happy again.
shh. Sorry. I thought I,
She's
I thought
spooked.
I thought I almost spilled my coffee.
She almost ran out of here. She's on the edge of the chair.
um, yeah, our parenting journey with Jay. I mean, we don't have a lot of experience with our parenting journey,
Oh,
but it's been a good journey so far. Um, And sometimes I do kind of feel a little guilty talking about it with other moms because a lot of other moms are struggling mentally, and I've mentally been clear. Like, I didn't experience postpartum depression. I have had an easy go at breastfeeding. She wasn't colicky. She sleeps very easily. Like, she's a very happy baby, very giggly, always has been.
And, like, when she never cried.
Right.
She never just like
No, she would
just all
complain.
her air coming out of her mouth at once.
Right.
She at the most well, what was at the most? She would just kinda like, "Uh, uh,
She
uh."
complain.
That's
Yeah.
that's a bit about it. She would just kind of sound uncomfortable,
Right.
you know? And
Well, we also we
a
al-
few times she would kinda start crying, and that was like in the car when it was too late,
right.
and that
Oh
was
my
like,
god, I think the worst time was when I had her get her shots.
oh,
That was
yep.
the worst time is
I
when
remem
she got the shots.
yeah.
I mentally like, that was awful.
I couldn't be there, I was at work.
Nope. I wasn't prepared for that
So and
at
then you got
all.
stuck in stop and go traffic, didn't you? Or was it on the
No,
way
that was
there?
different. That was different. I
Oh,
got
okay.
s I so the time you're thinking of is when I had to take her to the hospital, to get her hips,
Oh, yep.
had the ultrasound
Yep.
for her hips to make sure her hips were her wow, her hips weren't fucked up
How early
because
was that? Wasn't that like a few months or a month?
a few weeks.
A few weeks?
Yeah,
Okay, I can't
I think it was, like,
my memory's
around
fuzzy
6
there.
weeks or something because they wanted to make sure her hips weren't gonna be fucked up because, she was originally a breech baby,
Yep.
and I suppose that breech babies are and this is a recent development, they are known to have hip issues, and if you don't know what I mean by breech baby, it's when the baby is upside down, so it's coming out ass first,
Yep.
because your baby is supposed to come out
Head
head
first.
first. I was a breech baby, but I was an emergency breech baby.
I was
So my mom
yeah.
was already giving birth to me when they had to do an emergency
And I
C-section
was
and
an
cut me out.
and I was
Happy
a
birthday,
breech.
tumor baby.
Yeah, we're both tumor babies.
Both
But
happy birthday, tumor baby.
hell yeah, that's why we're
Or
so screwed up.
yeah.
But yeah, that
But
was yeah.
I never got my hips examined because I didn't know that yet. So I honestly think some of my hip issues might be because I was a breech baby. But
Mhm.
that's what you're thinking of is I had to take her to the
Yeah.
hospital and they were doing
Yeah.
construction, so we were in stop and go and she was not having a
I
good
remember you
time in the
called
car.
me.
I called you because I was
Yeah.
so overwhelmed and because I was like, I know she's hungry. She's got a poopy diaper.
And that was when
And we're stopped, so I'm not
how
going and I can't pull over.
how old was she there? Because she was still like
A few
'cause
weeks.
yeah, okay, okay, okay.
'Cause
'Cause
she got her shots at a few months, but she we had I had to take her to the hospital to get her hips examined at, like, a few weeks.
that's one thing about, like, a baby being that young and, like, having to transport him in a car.
And
It's
that was
just
the first time I
ugh.
was driving her in the
Did
car
you have that
by
mirror?
myself.
Did you have that
No,
rear-facing mirror yet? Oh,
no.
yep.
It was
Yeah,
the first time I did it by myself, that's why I got the mirror,
yeah.
because I was so anxious, but that was the first time I was driving her by myself, and I remember I had so much anxiety because I was like, "What if she's, like, stops breathing? What if she starts choking on her own, like, spit up or something?" Which there's no way she could have.
Well,
Realistically,
you
like,
know, the possibility is
it's a
always there
possibility, but it's a low
because that's why
possibility.
you're worrying about it because it can happen,
Right,
and it has happened.
but I just, like I remember I was so
Not to
worried, and
us,
there
but
was no way I could have pulled over
right.
because I was in stop and go traffic, and I was like, "This is
Well,
not gonna be safe if I do."
if there's like a extreme problem, like something like that to happen, that's when you just say, "Fuck all you else. You can go around me. I
Well
gotta get out and I gotta get my baby out because there's
yeah, if
because
she was, like, choking or
yeah.
something, absolutely. I mean, like, just because she was upset,
Oh, like
I
to pull over to feed her or something
yeah,
like yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't do that.
stuff like that's a pain. And it get yeah, you know, we I feel guilty having or talking about like the difficulties with having her
Because she's been so easy, when
because
you
she's
know
been
that
so
other
easy.
parents are going through
And
it
it's
so
like
much harder.
yeah, and I'm like, I don't even feel like I have room to speak
Yeah,
about this because she doesn't cry often. She's smiling constantly.
right.
She's always happy.
And I feel bad. A part of me does still feel bad that I'm still breastfeeding because a lot of moms don't breastfeed this
I
long.
think it's a good because
I am extremely blessed to still be able to be
I
doing
think
that.
it's healthy. A lot of people are like, "Well, it's too late now. You know, she's almost a year old." I'm like, "Okay, you know when in my the way in my definition of like when you kind of have to start weaning them off is when they have the ability to eat solids,
Right.
like actually
Like
chew them.
us. Yeah.
Like, yeah, to me, it doesn't make sense at all. I mean, you can feed them purees
Yeah.
when they don't have teeth, but they still don't have teeth for a reason. They're not
Right.
meant to eat yet. When they have teeth, they're not meant to nurse anymore
Yeah,
because now you're hurting mother.
right. And
So
she still hasn't she's got 2 bottom teeth, and she's only bit me, like, what, 2 or 3 times?
yeah, and that wasn't even by accident. She just does that sometimes, and
She did it one time because she didn't want a nurse,
yeah.
and I thought she did, but the other 2 times have been complete accidents.
Um, you want to start from the very beginning of like when we first had her?
You can lead that off, and
All
I'll
right,
build on it
all right,
'cause
perfect. So that day was
oh,
you went
like
to work and
when I went into labor?
yeah, you went to
Yeah.
work and you went into labor
Yeah, that
and we
was
didn't even know.
awesome, because I so Jay came 3 days early, and I remember what? Why are you looking at me like that?
Man, you
What?
were like, "Oh, lead it off."
I didn't know you wanted to
Started.
start at my labor. I didn't know where you wanted to
Well,
start.
I wanted to go through like the whole being at the hospital because
Yeah,
of
okay.
how hot it was because it's her birthday is
So,
middle of June.
I'll start with this. I'm gonna s I'm gonna start with, so her due date was in June, and I was hoping that she would come on June 12th. Her due date was June 16th, and I was hoping she would come on June 12th because my mom's birthday is July 12th. My birthday is December 12th. So that's 2 generations of 12 birthdays. So when I remember telling everybody, God, it would be awesome if she came on June 12th because then we can keep that going.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's a cool thing to happen.
right. So June 12th comes around and
Really close.
I'm going to work and um
Now,
I
you don't
remember
need to get too much in detail.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I remember, like, I didn't know I was going into I'm not gonna give all the
Nobody needs to
nitty-gritty
know about
details.
that.
God, no, but I remember, like, I didn't know I was going into labor, and I was at work, and I left, like, half an hour early or something because I was like, "God, my back hurts, like, I can't do this anymore," and I remember joking with my coworkers, like, "What if this is the day that I go into labor?" And my aunt came in, and she was like, "Yeah, you know, doing hard work and doing a lot of stuff will put you into labor," and I was like
Guess what?
I went home and made enchiladas and we were sitting on the couch and I was were we watching YouTube or was I playing the Walking Dead game?
I think you were playing The Walking
I was
Dead.
playing The
The
Walking Dead.
Telltale series Walking Dead.
Right, and that's when my water broke, and I remember I was like, "Is this happening right now?" And I I had to call my mom and
Well,
ask her,
remember
and she was like and you called your
we
dad.
weren't even sure
Yeah, I
because
didn't know.
because like what feeling were you feeling? You're like
It was like I just pissed myself, but I was like, "There's no way I just pissed myself."
yeah, because you started just leaking,
Yeah,
and it
on
wasn't
the couch.
but it wasn't like this your classic my water broke and it's like somebody
Right.
just popped like a one of those inflatable pools.
It was just like I had, like,
It but
peed
and
myself.
I you called your mom and I
Mhm.
called my dad and I was like we're not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's not like like what I just described.
Well, and it's
And
like
he and
and I hadn't my water had been slowly leaking all day, and I didn't know it, remember?
right, it's
So
very very slow.
yeah,
And the one thing that my dad told me was, well, if her water did break, you should just get head to the
because
hospital. And I was
I
like,
didn't have any
and
contractions,
I was already grabbing the bags, and I was like, that's exactly what we're gonna
and
be doing
I was in the bathroom calling my mom.
because he told me, but and I also knew at the same time, if your water did break, that means your amniotic fluid
Yeah,
is leaving, and if there's not enough in there for for her,
yeah,
it
it's
becomes
dangerous.
dangerous.
Right,
So we need to get to the hospital.
and I hadn't had any contractions, and you know how, if you are a woman and you're listening, and you
Why'd
end up
you got all
getting no
aggressive right
no,
there.
listen, if you're a woman and you're listening, and you have any intention of being pregnant, or you're pregnant right now, or you have been pregnant, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ask another woman that has been pregnant or has had kids what contractions feel like, you will more than likely get the answer, "Oh, you'll know." I am here to tell you, in fact, you will not know because I sure as shit did not know what my contractions were feeling like, mostly because I didn't have them.
I would imagine they felt like you completely have no control over it. You completely have no control over it, but it feels like it feels like you're pooping, but like 1,000 times.
No.
No?
No, not at
Like
all.
where your body just like "Rah," and just
I don't honestly, I don't even remember
I cannot even fathom it. I can't, but that's the best I can imagine.
I don't even remember what they felt like. I just remember feeling like this
Like,
is the
well,
most pain I'm ever gonna be
because I
in.
think that's and you told me we both think that and like yeah, I agree with you about the your theory of like you naturally will just kind of your mind will kind of almost forget it. Or not
Yeah,
forget, but
because your
like
body
you're
sees it as like it's very traumatic for your body to
right
go something
because
like that, and so
if you remembered
your brain is like, "I don't wanna remember this pain."
your point to of living
Mhm.
is to reproduce. That
Right.
is the point of being a human.
Mhm.
Like your just natural system
Yeah.
is to reproduce. If you remembered how painful it is,
You're not gonna wanna
that's
do it
going to
again.
deter you from reproducing again.
Right.
So why would you remember?
But I'm here to say I would do that again. That was a beautiful experience for me.
It's like getting off the worst ride you've ever experienced on.
Woo! Let's
on
do that again.
that was fun.
But no, I would 100% do that all over again, even like with the pain I was in. Because the worst part for me was not the contractions themselves. The worst part for me was getting the epidural.
That
That was awful.
that was the worst part.
Like
I think
even like doing the gas and air, that was kind of not it wasn't awful. It wasn't great because it didn't make me feel great.
we didn't want we like I did of course I didn't make the decision. I'm not the one giving birth, but I supported whatever decision my wife made, and I was there to support her. Whatever decision she made, it's her decision.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to 100%. She was unsure about getting an epidural because
I'm not a needles person.
she looked at what?
I'm not a needles
Oh, okay,
person.
sorry. I didn't hear that. I heard I'm not a something person. And
I'm not a
but
Beatles person.
um what's my Beatles
I
poster? Come
know.
on. Um but because my sister she had her first kid and she got an epidural and she told us that and this is probably like the worst to hear to like
Mhm.
deter you, but she told us she didn't stop feeling where she got that needle until her son was 4.
Right.
And that was like, ugh. And it's a giant needle
Yeah.
that goes into your spine.
It's not it's not even just like a needle. It's
Well,
like a whole
it's a needle, but it's also like an
it's like a
IV
yeah.
because it's does they don't just give you a shot
No,
and then take it
it's
out.
hooked up to a machine.
It goes in and it stays
Yeah.
in and it slowly drips uh
There's a button you press that gives you
more.
more, and you can only have a certain amount. So like
And you got to move sometimes because
it'll blink a light when it tells you you can have more.
right and
But I was out of it, so he had to press it
and
for
it
me.
would and I was so paranoid it was giving you too much. I was like every time they came in I was like is that it's not going to give her too much, is it? I was so paranoid about that. Um,
Understandable.
but I'm like, even though it's hooked up to a machine that literally is calibrated to not let it
Yeah.
go over a certain amount of not milliliter. That's too big, I'd imagine. Maybe it's milliliter. I,
Fuck if I know. I don't remember.
I don't know. It's smaller than milliliter.
I
Milliliter.
just
Sorry, I'm
remember
stupid.
after because I I so we didn't want to get the epidural, so instead we did the gas and air
Right.
because I was like, well, maybe that'll help. And it didn't necessarily help
That
my
was
pain.
that was just it.
It made me dizzy.
Right.
It didn't I felt sick
That
more
was
than
just a
anything.
yeah, because I was there and your mom was there, and
Right.
that was just with the gas. Every contraction, it was about, a contraction, and then we would help you
Yeah.
breathe, and just breathe, and every contraction, and then it'd just pass, and
You're
then
probably gonna remember this better than I would.
I remember that. Even though I
I
was
don't
so because it
remember.
was all night,
Right.
and it was, "Get up, help you, it's alright, breathe," and
Technically I was in labor for more than 24
you
hours.
breathe in yeah, right, yeah, and you breathe in the gas, or you just it was before the gas, and it was like and then you'd your contraction, you literally there's a screen because they hooked her up with,
Mhm.
sensors, and you could
Yeah.
see on the screen when the contraction was coming. You could see
I was
this
hooked up to
you
so much shit.
that was it was annoying, but you could see the line going up, so right when it started blowing up, it's like before she even showed signs of it, I was like, "Oh," because me and her mom were both like Oh, here comes another one. Okay, get up. All right, breathe, and then that's when I could see it on your face. Your face would get tense up,
Mm,
and it's
'cause
just
I'm trying to
oh,
work through the pain.
and it was like that all night. We
Yeah.
didn't sleep, and then after you they
I
once
was
you
not getting any sleep.
right, and
And
that was
that was
the
the reason they tried to encourage me to get the epidural because they were like,
because
"If you are not well rested, you're not gonna get this baby out."
right,
So,
and that and I genuinely believe if you didn't get the little bit of rest you got after getting the
I
epidural,
would she the her
you would have been
her
so
delivery was
tired.
not have been as
You would have
easy
been
as it
so
was.
tired,
Yep.
and it would have been a lot worse
Yeah.
than it ended up being. It ended up being
It
fantastic,
was
but we'll get
awesome.
there. Um,
So,
it
they
and
encouraged me to get the
they
epidural,
encouraged
and
you to get
I eventually did.
and then you also they got, like, a spare room because we had, like, a big room to ourselves, and
Before we get there,
well
I would just like to note that going back to me saying I never had contractions. When we got to the hospital, I still was not having
right.
contractions.
Yep.
So they had to start me on Pitocin, which triggers contractions.
Yeah, so they had
Pitocin contractions are significantly worse than normal contractions
right.
because they're not natural. Your body is forcing them.
Yeah.
So my contractions, and this is going to this is an important detail leading up to the epidural. My contractions were very, very strong but very, very inconsistent. So they were like I don't even remember how they measured them. They had, like, numbers.
There
I
was it was like a it looked a lot like an, what, forgive me if I get this wrong. I always forget the actual name of the monitor, but like an EKG monitor, right? For, like, your heart?
Oh, yeah.
Is it an EKG?
I think so.
And it looks very similar to that. It's just it's a line, and you can see that line
Yeah.
starting to go up, and then once it gets to the very tippity top of that peak, and then
Mhm.
that's the top, and then it starts going down,
Right.
and it would always go they would measure 'em how high they would go
Right.
on that screen.
Do you remember what the highest it got
I don't
was?
remember numbers on that,
But I remember that
but the peaks and, like, it would make little mountains pretty
yeah,
much, and they all looked
they were all
identical.
Oh, really?
Identical.
Okay.
And then but you would slowly get bigger, and they were looking for the contractions to get taller
Right.
because that's what would start triggering you to go to dilate.
Right, but the problem was that I wasn't dilating.
Right.
I had those
It took you a
contractions.
long time
I
to
had those
dilate.
contractions that they were looking for, and I was not dilating at all. Because
And
I went in 1 centimeter dilated, and I was 2 centimeters dilated pretty much the whole time.
and for anybody that doesn't know what the dilation is, it's and I'm gonna explain this in a, not a super detailed way. It's pretty much just making the pathway open
Yeah.
for the baby to come out. Um,
You need to get up to 10.
yeah, 10 centimeters.
Yeah.
And that's that's pretty
That's
big
big.
for, just
Um,
where it's at. But
but my
I'm
contractions were 2 minutes apart
I wanted
total.
to keep that as PG as possible.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
But my contractions were, like, 2 minutes apart by the time like,
Oh, yeah,
I
when you
when I
want
had to sign the papers for the
because
epidural,
they
they
were
were
like
so close together and so
they
strong, but I
they explained, "This is if you don't do this now,
we can't give
you
you an
can't."
epidural.
And I stayed in there with you to get
Mhm.
the epidural, and I've never like, even though you're going through the I've never seen and it wasn't like you were screaming. Like, you weren't even screaming when it was ready for Jay to,
Yeah.
be born, but it was, like, the pain. Like you weren't even you were
It
sc
was, like, the
you were,
intensity.
like you would just, like, tense up, and you would just go, "Ow, ow, 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 ow," and it was like I felt so helpless
Yeah.
because I couldn't help you at all,
Yeah.
and all I know is that you hate needles, and there's this monster needle going into your spine right
Well,
now.
and it didn't help that the anesthesian was kind of not compassionate.
Like, no, not patient.
Yeah, because he well, I understand because of my contractions, there was very little room he had to give me the epidural. So he was giving me an epidural while I had contractions. And I remember he was asking like I was in pain, and I remember him asking me like, "Are you in pain because of the epidural or because of the contraction?" And I was like,
Fucking
"Both."
both, dude.
Both? Like both my you were because he's
Try shitting an apple and
well, because remember
putting a needle in your spine, then
the
tell me
first
what
time
hurts.
the first time didn't work. The second time, he gave me a half a one, and then the third time, again,
I'm
nothing.
sorry.
So the fourth time was another half, so I got 2 halves of an epidural, you know? I remember I had, like,
Yeah, you had,
4
like
scabs on my
you
spine.
well, you had well, yeah, there were scabs, but they were like dots. There
Yeah,
had 4
yep,
you had 4 dots right along your spine because they finally got it, and then once they get it, they have to kinda feed it in because
yeah.
it's not a needle, it's the
It's an
needle
it's
is
an
to
IV.
the needle is to get it into you,
Yeah.
and then because at the end of the needle,
It's like threading when you're sewing.
it's like a big threading needle,
Yeah.
and oh my god, when I saw them put that thing together, I was like, "This is gonna fucking
I'm so
suck.
glad
This
I
is gonna suck."
I'm so glad I never saw it. I don't even know what
Yeah,
the
you don't
thing looked like because I didn't
yeah, you
want
don't wanna
to.
see it.
Nope.
No,
I would have freaked out,
you
and
don't
I
wanna
would
see
have
it.
not gone through with it. That's a promise.
And but they once it goes in because then they have to feed it a certain direction.
Mhm.
Because then they ask her they asked, "Is it like, is only one of your legs numb?" Because
Yeah.
it
It
has to
was
be feeding to both your
it was my
legs
right one
because
first,
it
and then my left
numbs
one.
absolutely everything.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing that, my sister described is, after, like, an epidural, you can't walk.
I walked just
You
fine.
and that's what I was gonna say. You had a f you
My body handled
besides the
having a baby great.
besides the actual needle and, that whole thing, after it was in, it was fine, and
Yeah.
then you were
Oh
able
god,
to
that's
walk.
the sleep I got while I was having an epidural. I slept through contractions after that. It was great.
Once you like, I remember once you were all set, they got you back they got, after the anesthesia left, and it was all set up, they explained what how this worked, they had all the sensors hooked up, and you were finally able to lay down on your side because you only
Mhm.
could lay one way so the sensors wouldn't get all fucked up
She was
because
fucking the
because the
our
sensor
daughter was fucking
this
up the sensors
this
anyway.
there was a you were hooked up. You were, like, hooked up like a cyborg
Yep.
because there was a sensor on, like, both sides of your belly for one for our daughter's heartbeat to make
Mhm.
sure her heartbeat's not fluctuating like
Yeah.
she's under like, in stress.
Right.
Um, and then there was one for your contractions, and there was another one I can't remember the
I
other
had the
ones were.
epidural. There was the
Oh
one
my
for
god.
my
You had an
heartbeat.
IV in your arm because you just that's common procedure,
Yeah.
and,
Remember how
but
many stuff we had to unhook so I can
fucking
go to the
hell.
fucking
Oh, yeah,
bathroom?
and
And
you
you
had
had to
to, like,
carry all of it
carry
for me?
you carry all these cords and stuff. Um, it's like uh, but I remember when you laid down and you were able to, like, finally close your eyes, and we saw you going through contractions, but you weren't moving,
Yeah.
and we're like and
Thank
I
God.
remember looking at your mom, and we both were like, because
I imagine
we
you
could
guys were whipped.
we can't go to sleep. We can't
Yeah.
let ourselves fall asleep.
Right.
But we looked at ourselves like we both looked at each other like we can close our eyes, and we just sat and closed our eyes. I don't remember how long we slept for.
I remember I kind of woke up because one of my contractions woke me up a little bit.
The one thing that
Oh,
they had to they had to keep coming back in because the sensors would come off.
because Jay would kick off the
Yeah,
sensors. She'd
she
kick
didn't
them
like
off.
those things on
No.
there.
But I remember and one of my contractions woke me up a little bit, and it wasn't enough that, like, I woke up, and I wasn't, like, in pain, it was just, like, noticeable. If honestly, after I got the epidural, they were more like period cramps, so
Right.
they were durable
Yeah.
or doable. But I remember because
Adorable.
I sleep
They could take a beating.
I if I sleep by myself without our daughter, because we bed share with our daughter, I always have my hand tucked, like, underneath my chin, and then the other hand is out. And I remember I was sleeping like that, and my hand's always close to my face, and my mom asked you, "Does she still sleep like that often?" And you go, "Yeah, all the time." And my mom goes, "She still sleeps like she sucks her thumb."
Hmm,
And that was the cutest.
you heard that?
I heard that,
Huh,
and that's, like, one of the most vivid memories in my mind because I thought it was cute that my mom noticed.
right. Oh my um, but onto the actual, like, when you were ready or almost ready,
Yeah.
that took a bit because once,
Ugh,
like, they got you in position, they were like, okay, they were getting the people, everybody in, and they brought in a cart, they were ready for everything.
yeah,
All I had to do was just be next to you, and I had to hold one of your legs.
yeah.
And, and your mom never
My mom helped deliver her.
helped,
Yeah.
and didn't what? Because it wasn't did she never had did you were natural no, how you we just talked about that, sorry. I'm so sorry.
She's my mom said she'd never seen
She's
anybody
never
give
seen,
birth
okay,
because I don't know if my brother was natural because I'm the oldest,
yeah.
and I was a C-section, And usually when you have one C-section, if you have more babies after that, the rest of them are C-sections. But I also don't know if that's a time frame thing because my brother and I are 7 years
They've also
apart.
gotten better at
Right.
those too. So I think the where the incision is now, because they used to it used to be different. It used to be like vertical, didn't it? And now it's horizontal. At some
I
point, it
don't
was
know
vertical
because
and
I've never seen my mom's
scar.
scar, but
It's very low. I remember.
my aunt had my cousin a C-section because my I think my cousin was big and my aunt was
Wait,
so
how did you
small.
explain that? Did I hear you right?
My aunt had my cousin as a C-section.
Okay. I heard.
My cousin had my aunt.
I heard aunt had had my cousin a C-section.
I know. My aunt had my cousin as a C-section, but her scar was across, and I'm pretty sure her scar was stapled, not stitched.
Okay.
I think. I don't fucking know. I
I
was
th-
also 6 years old.
okay.
I was 5 turning 6 when my cousin was born. So, fuck if I know. I don't remember.
Okay.
I barely remember the day my brother was born.
We're about done with this chunk. So we'll take a moment break.
Yeah.
See you right in a second. All right, we're back. Now, do you remember where we were?
No.
Not at all.
That's why I asked you, "Where were we?" And you're
Okay.
like, "Well, we're just gonna pick up right where we left off." And I'm like, "Where was that?"
Well, that's the part of this is us figuring out how to get back to where the hell we were. So,
I
ah,
think we were in the middle of delivery.
yeah, okay, we were there. Um, so once they came all in, then once all the people came in
Mhm.
and they brought their cart, they had all the equipment that was everything they possibly needed.
Yeah.
Um, and was that before or after? Because there was a moment where you were like 9 centimeters, and you were like,
She
"She's
was
ready to come
she
out,"
was ready and they were not. They
and
had to get the doctor and the doctor wasn't there yet and I was like, "She's coming. She's coming right now." I can't say that. Um I just derailed myself. Hold on. So that was before she was ready before they were.
right, yeah, because she was like, once that process started, she was coming,
Yeah.
and like it or not, there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
And so I sat next to you, just kind of cheering you on, like
Yeah.
making like telling you, classic things. You're doing great and all that. So once like it officially was like, okay, they were like, okay, she can push,
Yeah.
and it was 22 minutes, right? 22 minutes. Yes, 22.
27.
It's 27.
Was it?
I thought it was 22. I think it was 22 minutes,
Okay. I'm going to trust you.
and she was out, and and then it's funny because right when she comes out, they immediately whoop right onto Mama's chest,
Yep.
and she didn't have a problem crying,
Nope.
and she started crying, and God, that was such a crazy feeling because it's they immediately she immediately opened her eyes, and
Yeah.
she was like looking around, like their eyes don't like fully work, so it's like everything's kind of blurry. They're not gonna fully see you. It takes a couple weeks before their eyesight, like clear, like near sight starts working, and then far sight starts working. But she was just looking around. She's really dark eyes and just looking around, and that's when she just looked right at me because um they didn't have me cut the cord for a minute
Mhm.
after she was born, so she was still connected to you. And then after she's born,
I don't
uh,
remember you cutting the cord at all. I was so infatuated with my
right,
child.
of course, and because it was a quick thing, but they didn't even talk to me. They just handed me scissors. I was like, I already know what I'm doing with these,
Yeah.
and so I cut it, and it's a lot tougher than you think it is. It's not like cutting
Like
like
paper.
like paper or tape. It's it's tough. It's a
Yeah.
tough cord, so
Because
it's
that's
called a cord.
transporting all the food the baby needs.
Yep.
So it's gotta be tough.
And but their scissors are sharp, so there was no problem with that. And then and once I cut it, because they pretty much just like somebody
They
they're like
clamp off either side.
eat both sides, and then they have a space, and they're just like they
Yep.
right there, and then I cut it, and then they finish everything else, and everything the rest of everything comes out. We don't need to explain that because that's
Yeah.
that's worse. It's not something that needs to be explained. Um, you just don't want to see it, but that's all I'm saying. And and then they clean up the cord where it goes into her belly, and
Yeah.
they put a little clip on it to hold it together, and then eventually it shrivels up, and it shrivels up and falls off on its own. It's you just got to keep it clean. Don't let anything touch it too much. Don't let her
Make sure it
screw with
doesn't get
it,
wet, yeah.
and but that was first. It was like that first night with her, and when we were there, they can't. We couldn't let her just sleep
Yeah.
on mom.
No, I couldn't fall asleep with her.
Right.
She could fall asleep on
Oh
me,
wait,
but I
I'm
couldn't fall
sorry. I
asleep
had
with
that
her.
backwards.
Yeah.
There was no like sleeping together at all, and with like mom and baby. So like they have like glass
Bassinet.
bassinet in there, and she has to sleep in there. And so that was it gave me a good opportunity to get good at making a baby burrito.
Mhm.
And boy,
Oh,
can
I
I tell
miss
you,
the
I
baby
miss
burritos.
making a baby burrito because I was really good at it. And because whole thing is because they still they still want to feel like they're like like they're held together. It's a constant hug pretty much. And now they're outside and they don't feel like they're getting hugged anymore. And so when you swaddle them and it just holds their arms together, holds their legs, and then they feel like they feel like they're back again. So then they're easy to sleep. And for my first couple ones, of course, they were terrible. But then I saw the nurse do it,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, it's not that hard." And I was like, "Okay." And I tried like one more time. I was like, "Okay, I didn't get it." And I tried it again. I was like, "There we go."
I could never get the swaddles tight enough.
I remember
That was my
you'd
problem.
try and then you'd try a couple sometimes it'd work and this is talking about later, like when we're back home, but you'd try a couple times and then if it didn't work and she gets out because that was one thing, she's a kicker and she still is. And she
She was always a
if
kicker.
there's one arm or one foot that gets out, that thing's flailing
Yeah.
around everywhere and it keeps her awake. So we had to tightly, like, we needed not just small, just a normal, like, wrap, like a little baby wrap, but we needed a big one so I could, like, tie it around her
Yeah.
and not tie it, but, like, I had to make a nice fold, and it just held on itself, and as you're holding her, it's if you're holding on to her, it's gonna stay tight on her, and but that was just the whole that first night, I didn't sleep. I
Yeah.
let you sleep
I remember that.
because neither of us know at all what we're doing
Right.
about like a brand new baby, and she was 6 pounds. How many ounces?
4. 6
4 ounces.
pounds, 4
Six
ounces,
pounds,
19 inches long.
4 ounces. And now I've had
She was a
experience holding.
small
I've
baby.
had experience, just handling a newborn.
Yeah.
Not a newborn, but handling a baby,
Right.
and because that's just, my my sister's firstborn. I was there a lot
Right.
to help with like watching him and
Right.
you know
You were a big part of his upbringing.
right and it's crazy now because he's 8. I still remember
Yeah.
when he was really young, but I but that first night I didn't sleep and I didn't care because Mama was sleeping because she just went through the most traumatic thing that I can't even fathom. So I will sit and there was like a chair in there, but it wasn't a rocking chair, but I
It
kind of
was a recliner.
it was a recliner, but I was treating it like a rocking chair
Right.
because I would just kind of like lean back and forth and let the back part kind of move. And what the hell was watching? What was on?
We
Um,
watched a lot of Friends, a
there
lot
was
of The
there was
Office,
Friends, there was The Office, but when he was sleeping, family,
Family
family,
Matters.
huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Was it family? Not family values. Uh, it's got what's his face? Uh, dang it, I can't remember. I can't remember his name at all. But that was like a '90s sitcom.
Yeah.
Family, I can't remember it. but, I never even really watched that show that much, and I was watching, I was like, "Yeah, this is kinda enjoyable," 'cause, I liked watching it, but, and it's just one thing I know I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life, is I'm gonna be sitting there with our brand new daughter,
Mhm.
and I'm just sitting there, and she's still getting used to being outside,
Right.
you know, in the best tense, but or in the best sense of words, but and I just sat there and I think I did actually fall asleep for not that long though, but we were there we were there for a few days, and because they needed to keep track of her, like, levels and stuff, and her levels were great.
Except for they were they were concerned about her jaundice.
Yeah,
She was, slightly jaundiced.
Billy Rubin,
Yeah, her bilirubin levels. They
and
were at first kind of sketchy, but they got
right, and
better.
literally their level of, like, their, like, max level for Billy Rubin levels goes like, increases
Yeah,
by hour.
right,
So by the time she's what, like, 24 hours old, and if her bilirubin levels aren't too high, or they're supposed to be where they're at,
right.
they're most likely good.
And her bilirubin levels, like, really didn't change.
Yeah.
But because the the max increases by the hour, it didn't matter, you know?
Yeah. And, um, but holy shit, did my family make me paranoid that she,
Well,
was,
because
was on track to having
your
jaundice.
sister's firstborn had jaundice,
Yeah,
and I remember that she was concerned because she actually had to take him back to the
and
hospital
that's a process.
because they didn't say anything to her about his jaundice before she left, so she had to go back.
Right.
So that's why she was concerned because
And
she
it's
didn't
a
want us to have to go through that, which is
and I
understandable.
don't remember what the process is off the top of my head, but it's when a brand new baby's got jaundice, it's a process. And if anybody's out there that's went through that, yeah, and like because I remember, yeah, I didn't personally go through it, but I remember my sister going through that, and that was a process, and it's scary because yeah, that your brand new little baby is now already at risk for something,
Yeah.
and they're always at risk for something. There's always it's very like just a lot of risk, but you just kind of you you go at it day by day, and you make sure they're just healthy. And then about a week after they're born, and if they're nice and healthy, they're still healthy. They're still there's no signs of any problems. You're in the clear. At least with my experience, you're pretty in the clear, and then you just keep them happy, keep them fed, keep their butt clean.
Was it Family Ties?
Family ties. What's
Hold
thank
on.
you. What's the main character? What's his
Hold
name?
on. I'm gonna pull it up for
If
you.
anybody's listening, they know what I'm talking about. They're just yelling at
Is it
me.
this one?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
I don't know if it's the kid that's got dynamite, Ah,
no. Was
I
it 80s or 90s?
I think it was no, it might have been 80s.
Because I'm looking at 80s right
Oh,
now.
no, it is I yeah.
Family Matters?
Family Matters.
That's what I said.
Did I? Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, I was saying Family Values, and I was like, "No, that's Adam's Family."
Steve Urkel,
Steve Urkel.
asshole. Sorry. You've moved on from the subject, and I'm like,
Well, it's like, thank you. You were able to clarify what show I
yeah,
was watching, Family
Family
Matters.
Matters. Yeah, that's
And
what I thought.
I never really watched that show, and I was like, "You know what?" I was that show. I don't know what channel it was on, and
We
that
didn't
was
really change the channel.
no,
Once we
and I
found the
wasn't,
channel, we were
and
like, "This is it."
I didn't care because I
No.
was like, I'm perfectly fine watching this, and you're sleeping and stuff, but because I was actually able to laugh a little bit, and I was very tired, but I was enjoying that
Yeah.
moment because I didn't I did eventually put her in the bassinet,
Mhm.
because I didn't fall asleep with her because you can't.
Right. They have you sign a waiver saying
Yeah,
that I will not because
it's
it's then they are kind of liable for that if
yeah.
anything happens to your baby, like you drop them, they fall out of bed, whatever may happen, they are then held liable if they don't have you sign that
Right,
waiver.
and so that's kind of thing, but, I let her sleep on me for a while, and then she'd get into a really nice, good sleep, and then
Ouch.
once I knew she was in a good sleep and her swaddle's still
Mm.
nice and tight, I'd slowly lay her down, and figured out because I had to try it a couple times because she'd wake back up. I
Right.
figured out the trick is not trying to be slow. When she's down, you gotta be quick
Yeah.
because the constant movement is what wakes them back
Right.
up, at least with my daughter. Wakes them back, so you lay them down and be quick. Get your hands out of
Yeah.
there. and then she might wiggle a little bit, and then she'll just stop, and she'll kinda go back.
Mhm.
She'll fall back to sleep again. And then, once I got it like that, and it was like, "Okay." I sat down in the chair, and I had to sit really quiet because that chair was like and
Yeah.
I had to sit really quiet, and then I was like, "Okay." And I closed my eyes for a little bit, but I was paranoid. I heard her moving a little bit, and I'd immediately wake back up, and I'd watch her, see her moving, and then I'd stand up, and I'd be like, "Okay, okay." If she starts going, I'm gonna pick her right back up, and I'll help her 'cause and I'll hold her to me,
Mhm.
and she'll fall right back to sleep, and that happened. She'd go she'd and just a little tiny baby sounds coming out of her mouth go you'd hear, and then I'd pick her right back up, and I'd, "Okay, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright," and I'd walk around the room, I'd just pace the room,
I miss little baby
and
sounds.
then she'd fall right back to sleep, and I'd put her back in, try it again, boom, take my hands out, and then, "Okay, sit back down, continue watching Family Matters," and I'd fall asleep, and eventually I woke up, and it was morning, and she was still asleep.
She was a good sleeper.
Once she was sleeping, she's sleeping, and it's
Mhm.
still like that. Once she's sleeping, she is sleeping,
Mhm.
because it's crazy to talk about that, and now she is 10 months,
Mhm.
and, she's we still bed share, but we've gotten to the point now because we got a crib and we have her own room, but
I feel safer with her
it's
with
still
me.
cold,
Yeah.
and that room's cold,
Yeah.
and in the summer, that room's hot, which sucks, but and I'm gonna be solving that this summer,
Yeah.
but so for now, we're slowly like, getting her used to, like, not
S
sleeping on mom anymore, and
Sleeping
now
by
we're
herself,
sleep
but she's
now
still in our bed.
and now we're sleeping by ourselves.
Yeah.
She's a belly sleeper, and it's funny because I'll wake up first, and I'll see Mary sleeping, and then I'll see our daughter, and they're both sleeping exactly the same. And it's funny because she's 10 months. She's still a baby. She's
Yeah.
still a baby until 2 years old, and then she's a toddler.
Yeah.
And but right now, the way she's, the way she sleeps like a little kid. It's so
Yeah.
funny. The way she is, the way like has herself positioned.
She acts like a little kid
She
too.
sleeps like a little kid,
Yeah.
not a baby. And like that's so crazy to me.
Mhm.
But here's the crazy thing, when we were, finally released and we're ready, now I'm like, "Okay, I'm finally used to
God,
having this baby."
leaving the hospital was awful because of how hot it was,
It
and I
was
was so
96
paranoid. 'Cause it
degrees.
was cold in the hospital, and
Yeah, because
I didn't wanna have her not have a blanket on because it was cold in the hospital, but I didn't wanna keep
and
the
she
blanket
is
on her
literally
because it
a
was
couple
so
days
hot.
old. She's only a
It
couple
was,
days
like,
old.
almost 100 degrees.
Yeah. So, what I did was I was able to start the car, pull it around, and I was able to get it running and getting it nice and cool, and
Meanwhile,
then
I'm trying to figure out how the car seat works.
oh my god, and I felt so terrible because we've been just holding this baby. It's like this thing is the most precious, most
Mhm.
valuable thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And now I gotta let her go, and I gotta put her in the seat and then strap her up.
Yep.
And it's like this little fragile little thing that's got such, it's just very, fragile skin. You
Yeah.
just gotta strap them up.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my god, I hated that.
They are more durable than you think they are, though.
They're very
Yeah.
durable. They're very bendy. They can take a
Bendy.
lot, but, they take a lot for a reason because as so small like that, they have
S
to be able to
Right.
move.
Still be gentle with your child,
Right, I'm not
but
advocating to not be
no.
gentle with your child.
No, be gentle with your child, but know that strapping them into a car seat is not the worst
It's
thing,
not the worst thing, but you don't feel good doing that.
right?
It's
You still feel really
But
guilty.
as they grow up and they get older, it's like, okay, they're just now she just yells at us because it's inconvenient. She's fine. I'll put her in car seat, and I just, okay, okay. Can you help me? Help me to put your
It's
hand through
because
here,
she likes
and then
moving on her
I
own.
know, and then she'll look at me and go,
Yeah,
and I was
she just
like,
yells
get
at
me
you.
out of this thing.
She argues about everything. She's
uh,
argumentative. She's a happy baby, but she's
what's her parents?
argumentative.
What's her parents? Come on,
Just
you
sit
can't.
there.
The apple doesn't fall from the tree, ma'am.
Yeah.
But so we get her back, and I the drive. We had a decent drive because the hospital we were at was, like, it was pretty decent distance. And that drive though, I didn't, go faster than 45, 50.
And I sat in the back seat with her to
And
make sure she
oh
was
my
breathing the
gosh,
whole time.
yeah, that was we're so paranoid.
'Cause we
and
didn't have the mirror. I don't think I had the
oh
mirror
my
until
god.
she was
I
after
remember
4
the
weeks.
bliss feeling,
Oh my
this
god.
extreme bliss feeling of being getting back home.
I missed having a car so our car's been on repair, but that's a whole different thing. But
And
the car has the mirror, and because we haven't had the car for 3 weeks, like, driving with her in the truck, it's not, like, the worst thing
this
because I
is
know she's
not
fine.
and from previous episodes, I've mentioned my old truck. We're not driving her in a 1964
No,
pickup.
no, 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 no.
I have a 2004 F-250.
Yeah,
That's the other truck.
right.
And it's only a extended cab, so it's not a lot of space, but you can hook up a car seat in the
Well,
back.
and it's like
And
you'll noticeably know the difference when I'm talking between the 2 trucks because 'cause I'll say your truck if I'm talking about the 2004, and then I'll say your red truck or your old truck if I'm talking about the other
that's,
one. So I'm never just gonna say your truck when I'm talking about the
right.
64.
But, so
Anyways.
we got back and before when we were about to leave, we let her brother know because we didn't live too
Oh
far away
god.
from well, hold on. We didn't live too far away from where her mom
It was
was,
within
and
walking
within
distance.
walking distance. So we let her brother know, "Hey," or asked him, "Could you run to our apartment and turn on our AC?"
So it's
Because it
cold
was
by the
so
time we get
hot.
home.
We wanted our apartment cool by the time we
Mhm.
got there, and because if we are and also, if it's colder, you can control that by blankets better. So we had
Yeah.
our apartment as cold as we could possibly get because then we could
Then we
wrap
can
her up,
bundle her up and make sure she
and
was at a
now
good
and I know
temperature.
she's nice, but if it's too hot,
Then I'm paranoid the whole time that she's overheating.
then yeah, if a newborn's overheating,
Yeah.
they're already not wearing anything.
There's
That's a
nothing you can
problem,
do about that.
and
That's why I would always say,
and
even as an adult.
you can't have a fan on them because they're newborn. They can't
Right.
have that wind,
That's why as
and
an adult, I would rather be in a cold climate because you can bundle up and get
yeah,
warm
that's
as much
why I
as you
love
want,
cold a
but
lot
you can
better.
only get so naked before it's fucking illegal. Before
before you
you're
go into
arrested.
the drunk tank.
Yeah. Um
Before you gotta you only can take off so many layers before you're a felon. And now you can't come within
That's
500 feet of us.
sexual
And
offender.
now you can't come within 500 feet of a school. Good job. I was just hot. I'm sorry.
God.
But we got back, and those first few days was just bliss because I remember just falling asleep on
Besides
the
the
couch,
cat.
and I got myself nice just in a spot on the couch, and she's sleeping, and I'd be like,
Because we slept in the living
this
room for the
is
first few weeks.
yeah, the weeks or days?
We slept in the
Ah,
living room for, like, 2
about
weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, about 2 weeks,
The entire 2
and
weeks you were out on
yeah,
paternity
because
leave.
it was so hot.
Yeah.
We
It
the
because the AC
AC
wouldn't go completely into the
right,
bedroom.
because the bedroom was far
S
away from then
It was still hot.
the AC was just a wall-mounted unit,
Yeah.
and it was in the living room. And this wall mounted, I had cleaned it, and I saw the or the manufacturer date, and this AC that's still in a modern, quote unquote, upgraded apartment, which we'll get into that another day, um, was from 1993. So it's, compared to modern ACs, it's not, up to that.
Yeah.
Uh, and this AC went through like a extreme smoker because it was covered in yellow shit.
Yeah.
That cleaned out. I don't why didn't the people that cleaned and prepped the apartment before we moved in there? Well, that's the whole reason we got paying for it, whatever. This is another thing.
It's a whole
But
different thing.
not gonna get into that. But so we were there and we're sleeping in the living room, and because we just got blankets, we got uh we, 'cause we weren't sleeping on the floor. We were sleeping
We were
on
sleeping on the
the
couches.
couches.
Yeah, we were
And
sleeping on the small couch, and I on the love seat, and I was sleeping on the big one
yeah,
with
and
Jay.
my friends would come over. Okay, wash your hands,
Mhm.
and then I remember specifically one of my friends was there, and she fell asleep, and she was just like, and I was kind of just, I wasn't sitting up, I was kind of laying on my back, and she was just kind of sprawled out on me. And this is a newborn, and she still does the same
Yep.
thing. It's so funny, but
She likes sleeping on an angle
God,
because she still sleeps like this. She'll wiggle on me until she's diagonal on me and her head's, like, hanging off of me.
and because so I for a long time am I've known I'm very extremely family oriented.
Yeah,
I take family very seriously. And when it comes to, because I didn't have a kid until now.
right.
When it came to my
I'd hope
kid,
not.
she is number one. She is number one. just very close, right behind, a hair behind, is my wife.
Yeah.
But my kids are is number one,
Right.
and so I had to not really, but almost. It felt like I had to like fight tooth and claw to get 2 weeks of unpaid leave, and there's other places they don't don't even offer anything.
You say
Which
tooth and claw?
tooth and claw? I
Tooth and nail?
We'll explain this later, but that was a Beckyism. Um, and that's how I know that I'm still related, that my mom lives on.
Mhm.
So we'll get into that another time. But yeah, if anybody out there watch Trailer Park Boys, you know what Ricky does? When he explains something, he calls something slightly different,
Yeah.
slightly wrong. Like I don't want to use the jalapenos, the jalapeno one, but that's kind of similar. But he just explain, like,
Yeah.
he'd say a saying, but it's backwards, or it's like putting another, like, does
Completely
does the
wrong.
Pope shit in the woods?
Yeah.
Does the Pope lie, or
I've
does a
been
bear
wanting to
shit in the
rewatch
woods?
that, but I've gotta
That's
finish all the other
that's
4 shows I have started.
that's what my mom did that shit
Yeah.
since I was little, and I do that now.
Yeah.
It's fucking funny. But so back to so I got unpaid uh leave, and but the one thing is, and I'm gonna get into this, will be another thing as well as my gripes with fucking this company culture shit. But so for me to have unpaid leave, and I still have 2 months that I have this
FMLA.
FMLA I'm eligible for. I'm not gonna use it. I don't need it. It's literally for medical purposes. If something happened to my daughter and I needed to take, time off medically, it will ensure that they cannot fire me.
Right. It protects your job.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what I used for the 2 weeks.
Right.
But to use that, you have to use up all your personal time, which I don't
Mhm.
understand.
Every job is like that, and it's
Can
stupid.
what's what's the deal? I'm coming back.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving forever. What is the deal with me wanting to leave, and I don't give a shit if you pay me. Don't pay me at all. You're
Yeah.
not losing any money because you're paying somebody not being there. What the fuck is the problem with that?
Yeah.
I'm not leaving for a month. I'm not leaving for 2 months. I'm leaving for 2 weeks. Some people leave for a week. What's wrong with being unpaid? What's wrong with being unpaid for a day?
Yeah.
Which I can do that now because we just recently had like a change with our bosses, and my boss is now my department lead is very. He's like, you can take. I'm never gonna tell you no. He's
Right.
like, I'm never gonna tell you because I know you got a daughter. I'm never gonna tell you no.
Yeah.
And because he does the same thing. It's like he's got problems of his own. He's got, okay, I'm off tomorrow, or I'm off today. I can't come in.
Yeah.
But and it's like I don't give a shit if it's paid or unpaid. I don't care. But it's uh, I I got so angry because there's another instance where I heard somebody. I almost don't want to get in this. 'Cause I only got 4 minutes left of this chunk, so I might get into this after that. We start our next
Yeah.
chunk, but uh, so 'cause I had to use up all my personal time, which I wouldn't care if I
Yeah.
didn't use any of it. I didn't get paid for those 2 weeks. I had money saved up because I knew I'm going to be taking care of my
Right.
newborn daughter.
Well, and we knew that I was getting paid maternity leave,
Oh,
which was great. I got
this is
4 months of paid
this
maternity
yeah, that's
leave,
the
which
thing
is a miracle,
because
and I love the company I work for that.
yeah, and she got 4 months of paid maternity leave. What was it, like a few weeks full pay? How many was it?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
6 weeks of
S-
full pay and the rest was half.
Half pay
Yes,
for four
which was
months.
still amazing
That's
because a
amazing.
lot of women get 6 weeks unpaid maternity leave.
Right. Or
Some women
six
some
weeks
women
half pay and then
don't
just none.
get maternity leave.
Which
They have to have their baby and, like, use sick time for it, and then immediately go back to work
yeah, fuck that.
after having a baby. What
I
the fuck?
and that's why
You were still bleeding at
and
that point.
yeah, and that's why I sacrificed our like I guess financial stability
Right.
for you to raise our daughter,
Yeah.
because that is more important to me, and I will work more. That is more important to me than you working, you because I'm not telling you you stay home. You blah, blah. No,
No, no, no,
you make me
this
food.
was a mutual choice.
There better be a martini when I come home.
I did
It's
not want anybody raising my kid except for me, because like,
we're very
my
picky.
aunt was
Yeah.
watching my child for the first month, because I went back to work after 4 months, and I worked for, like,
I'm
what, 1
afraid.
or
I'm sorry.
2
I'm
months?
afraid I'm being too loud.
No, you're fine.
Oh.
So my aunt was watching her, but then after that, my aunt had, gotten a new job. So then we were like, "Well, who's gonna watch your kid after that?" And we had somebody else lined up, but that fell through. So, um, we ultimately decided, like, we're not gonna put her in daycare, because I've heard so many horror stories from daycares, and I was like, "I'm not doing
And
that.
also
I'm
daycare.
not going through that," and they're fucking
The
expensive.
daycare's fucking expensive.
Daycare
But
is
here,
more expensive than our fucking rent was.
yeah. Oh, and here's the thing. It's like taking a kid if you really need to, it's better if they're walking, if they're,
If they're
they can
talking,
they can not be talking, but if they're walking,
if
and
I
if they
have
if
to
well,
leave
hold
my
on, if they're walking, and if they don't need to be held 100% of the time,
Mhm,
when they're newborn, they need to be held 100% of the time.
right,
I'm sorry, I don't unless you are a extreme close member to my family, and I know you've had kids, and I know you're good with them.
right,
I can't trust you.
right.
Or unless I you come over and we literally teach you. And that way, what was that?
I wonder if that was a cat. Pause this real quick.
Huh. Okay, we talked about ghosts the last one. We're hearing
I'll
things.
be right back.
So one sec. It's this. All right. Well, that was kind of a spook. So we got this walker that's downstairs, and it's still it goes off in the slightest vibration,
Yeah.
and
It's touchy, it's
and
touchy-touchy.
right at the end of that last chunk right there of
We just hear, "Dee dee doo, let's get walking," and we were like, "What the fuck?" Like, deep down inside, I was like, "No!" Because we talked about ghosts last night, and I thought that the walker was, upstairs in our bedroom, which is literally, like, the next room over, and I was like, we looked at each other like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "What, the cat was just up here with us." So I bet you it was just her, like, she jumped over the baby gate, was walking around,
yeah.
and I was like, "I'm just gonna go check it out." So I looked in there and I was like, "It's fucking downstairs." So it could have been the cat or the dog. So I'm less spooked now, but like,
Yeah,
I almost shit my
because I
pants.
heard that too, and I was like, "What the hell could it?" I didn't hear it. I
Yeah.
didn't recognize it as the walker. I just heard talking,
I
and I was
immediately
like,
No,
"Who's here?"
I heard the "doo doo doo," and I was like, "Ah!"
Okay, well, back to jeez, that was such a sidewinder of what just hell just happened. But so back to what I was describing of so I got 2 weeks
Mm,
to be with our daughter, and because I was like, I don't care if I get paid. I need to. I don't know how to take care. I'm brand new at
right.
this. My wife's brand new at this, and we need to figure out how to take care of this little baby.
Well, not only that, but, like, I also needed to still take care of
You needed
myself.
to, there was a lot of there was often moments where I needed to because we didn't have a good ability to just set her down.
Right.
We didn't have a good we had a
Well, I didn't
bassinet,
want to either.
right? But we had a bassinet, and you can set her down, and she'll get fussy, but mama could do what she needs to do. But if I'm there, oh my, the amount of help that is.
Yep.
If I can take her, and whenever you need to,
And that's
it
why
just
I think paternity leave should be mandatory, just like maternity leave is.
I don't think it should be mandatory because if a dad doesn't give a shit about his family, let him choose that. I don't
Well,
care.
that's, well, not
But
mandatory, but, like, I think every, because a lot of jobs don't offer paternity leave. That's what I mean. I think it
but
should be mandatory for a lot of jobs to offer it,
well, the one thing
because,
is,
like,
the one thing is, again, I don't care being paid. I don't care. I just think it should be easier for me to just get 2 weeks.
well, that's what
Just
I
get two
mean.
weeks.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to fight about it. Not fight, but I shouldn't have to be like, okay, I need. Can it be any less? Can it be any less? No, because I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't know how to do this. We need to. I can't. Uh, so, uh, so the whole thing is I lost it, and this was in private because my wife didn't even know about this. That I lost it.
And he asked me if I remembered today, and I was
It
like, "No."
it must have been when I was driving or something because when I first heard about this, but I heard about people complained that I was out more than a week. They're like, "Well, I was only out for a week when I had my kid."
They did the same thing when your mom died.
Oh my, don't even get me
That's a whole different
started on
thing, but
that.
they did the same thing when your mom died.
Fuck it.
So it's
No, it's
not it's a trend at that point.
this was coworkers. But that was actual, like, management. But
Regardless, it happened.
yeah, I'm still fucking pissed about that.
Aren't we all?
But, so, I it's like, I was only out for a week. I was like, "Yeah, alright, were you helping your wife? Did your wife already know how to do this?
Right.
Then that's fine. I know I can't, because we were in the hospital for a few days. If I was only out for a week, I'd have been home for 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days for us to figure out how the hell to do this properly,
Right.
and then I'd have been, "Okay, good luck. See ya.
Right.
I'll be back. I'll be back in 8 hours. Good luck. You don't know what the fuck you're doing."
Mhm.
So,
On top of that, I'm still in pain.
e
I'm bleeding. I'm still sore. Um, I can't take care of my. If you were to have gone to work, I probably would not have been able to take care
I'm
of
getting
myself
too
as
angry.
well. I probably would not have been having meals regularly because I would be having to take care of the baby.
But
I wouldn't have been able to pump as
because
often.
you brought it up, I gotta address it.
Okay.
But so before my mom passed away,
I'm shaking.
yeah, I'm getting flustered. I mean, okay. Before my mom passed away, uh, we was like, all at once, it seemed like
All of
like a
us.
wave happened. But nobody even around us got COVID until, what was it, like a year after
Yeah.
it started, a year and a half,
Yeah.
and then everybody had it all at
Mhm.
once, all at once,
Yep.
and so I was out for like what? We were out for like 2 weeks because we got COVID.
I
You
was
can't
out for closer to a month.
a month.
Yeah, I was out for close to a month because I was struggling to be able to get tested. You were able to get tested, but I didn't have insurance, so I had to find a place that could test me without insurance for free. But then once I found that place, I also had to schedule to get tested, and they were booked out. So I had to
I
test a
remember
week
that.
out, and then I had to, and then I they were like, "Well, you're out for another
Uh,
2 weeks," and by
uh,
then I
right,
was over it.
right, and
So
so
I was out for like a
we
month
were like pretty much bedridden, but we weren't even in the bed. We were just
in the living
we were
room.
in the living room and we were stuck on the couch.
Miserable. That's how we binge watched.
I don't remember what we binge
Seth,
watched.
um,
Oh, we binge watched the Orville.
Orville, that's what it was.
That's a good show.
That was a
That
good
is a
show.
very good show. Um, but so and yeah, and my whole experience with that was like, like your typical cough. Everybody had the cough.
Mhm.
There was a
You
moment I was actually scared at night because I noticed I didn't have anything to give me an actual reading of my breathing, like my breath, my
do you have, like, sleep apnea,
yeah.
kinda? Yeah.
But I was like, I noticed when I was trying to sleep, my breathing was so shallow. It was very
Mhm.
shallow. So I was like, I don't know. But it was only one night like that.
Well, and you
But
lost your smell and your taste.
you're right. But, like, I couldn't wear a shirt or anything because
Yeah.
literally only my upper body. It was like my skin was so overly sensitive and
Mhm.
nothing could touch it. It hurt like hell to touch anywhere on my skin.
Yeah.
And that hasn't that's happened before on a different kind of sickness. I don't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but I had that same symptom. But that same night I had like the shallow breathing. Uh, I had my head could only be in one position because it was so painful headache.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, it wasn't the worst.
Right.
It like I just got through it, it's and but, people were, even though like the whole thing was like if you are sick at all, you can't be come to work during that time because
Yeah.
everybody was so paranoid. And I I was out for however many I was out for like I think it was I
You
think it
were
was
out for, like, 2
2
weeks.
weeks.
You were out. I was
And
out longer than you
yeah. And your job was more forgiving as well.
because
Um
I worked with
So I
musicians.
was out for like a week or 2 weeks, and then I came back for what was it, like a week?
Yeah.
I came back for a week, and then my mom was in the hospital for a while because, she
She had
there were
pre-existing health complications that were
and because her immune system was already compromised very
yeah.
heavily because of her anti-rejection, which is literally the anti-rejection medication dumbs down your immune system so it won't kill the
Yeah.
foreign object in your body that's her kidney.
That's keeping you alive, yeah.
'Cause otherwise it'll kill it,
Right.
unless it is literally yours, or it's some I I don't know how technical, really technical it gets, but otherwise, it's if it's not yours, your body sees it as foreign and it
Mhm.
tries to kill it. So you have to take anti-rejection medication to dumb down your immune system so it doesn't kill it.
Yeah.
And because otherwise, the kidney's fine, but if you don't take that, it will just your body will kill it.
Yeah.
And so her immune system's already compromised, and she and my dad got COVID, and my she was they stayed at home, and my dad was extremely worried. He didn't know what the right call was because
Right.
he was the one pretty much making the call because she was in bed, and eventually
I know she
the
was in the same boat as me where it's like she could not eat anything.
right
I know that that was happening 'cause we were
a-
talking about it.
and she didn't want to go to the hospital at
Yeah.
all. But eventually my dad had made the call that he called the ambulance, and because it was to the point where like it could go either way,
Right.
and we just didn't know. We didn't know, and it
There's no
took
way you could have
it's
known.
taken us a long time to get over, and not just my dad, but me, my sister, that we made the wrong or right calls, you
Right.
know,
Like,
and
which one was it?
right,
Like,
and
what
could
solution
I have just made
ways compared to the other
this other
one?
call, and she would still be here?
But there's no way to know.
But she, went in the hospital, and it was looking really good, and then she got because she was on a ventilator, and they wanted to get her off that,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. Everybody already knows if you're on a ventilator and your body becomes not it becomes used to not breathing on its own,
Yeah.
and when you're on it too long, and if your body becomes used to that, it won't get out of it,
Mhm.
and if you're too weak, that's it. And essentially, that's kind of what was going on. And then they scheduled her for because we got a call. It's like, okay, you're on the right track. She should be walking in about a week.
Mhm.
We really believe she's gonna be walking in a week. And then she got tracheotomy, and where they kind of move from a ventilator to kind of surgically opening your trachea
Yeah.
and inserting a tube to breathe that way. And she ended up with she had a blood poison,
That and they lost her oxygen levels, so they were pretty sure that she was brain dead, but there was no way for them to know.
and so that the October 2nd, that morning, I woke up and I got a call, not from my dad, from my
From your
grandma,
grandma.
and she told me, "Hey, Dylan, your dad's up here at the hospital, and I really, you need to come up here."
Yeah.
And she just, my grandma is the nicest person. She's not my biological grandma,
Right.
but she is the nicest. Other than my mom, she is the nicest person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And she's got the most
She's
like
a very
she's
loving, caring,
and
selfless person.
she's got the calmest, most like loving voice.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "I'm so sorry, Dylan. I'm so sorry." And I could hear her saying that. I knew what was going on. And I looked at Mary, and I was like,
Because that phone call woke
I'm
you up. It's
I'm
not like we were already
right.
awake, that
And
woke you up.
I said, "I'm not ready to lose my mom."
Mhm.
And but that day, I thought that's what ended up because we had to make the call, either
Yeah.
to keep her alive or to let her go.
Yeah.
And w- the we had to. My sister was so angry that because they had to bundle it because uh it was still in the midst of COVID,
Yeah.
so they were very touchy with that.
Yeah.
We almost couldn't even be in the room, and but they had to bundle us up in these big like almost just this big suits with automatic breathers and
Yeah.
stuff. And whatever you think about this whole thing aside, I already had it.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Give it to me again. I just wanted to be in there with my mom in her last moments,
Right.
touching. We couldn't touch her. We had to wear gloves. We had to wear everything. I know it is because it's in a hospital. They didn't want
It
that
was for the other people,
leaving
not
the room.
necessarily you, yeah. But
Isolate
still.
me afterwards. I didn't give a shit.
Right.
But I was in so much of a shock. I didn't have any.
You weren't processing that, you were processing, "I'm losing my mom."
But my sister was so pissed off. She's like, "She can't even hear us
Yeah.
in these stupid things." And but I tried my best to because they told us she could still hear us, and to just let her know I'm holding her hand. my sister's holding her other hand, my dad's rubbing her foot, and we just sat there just talking to her. And eventually they started disconnecting everything, and they started just like disconnecting the chemicals and stuff that kept her going and kept her like blood pressure up. And
Yeah.
then it got, I'm not going to get into it, but it got very rough. It got very rough because
I can't imagine what you went through.
I saw my mother that raised me, that when I was a child, when I was still a kid, I was so petrified of losing my mom,
Yeah.
just in a car accident when I was at school. I would come home crying because I was like, I can't lose you." And she's like, "Where'd this come from?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not ready to lose you." And she's like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I need for a long time. I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah.
That moment was today.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, I wasn't a mess, but one thing, my dad took my now wife, my fiance at the time, aside and said that, "I just be prepared. I'm gonna be."
He thought that you were gonna handle it the
I
worst.
was gonna she Everybody thought I was gonna handle it the worst.
You
I didn't really cry.
in my
I cried
opinion
on that day, but I didn't show it for a while,
right, in my opinion, I think you handled it the best.
and
You handled it better than I
I
thought you
did it
would.
like the classical stereotypical guy. I did it in private and a lot. Um, but so
There would be some times where you would just, like, burst out crying, and it would catch me so off guard. Like, there was one time you were doing dishes, and you just started crying, and I thought that I had done something
I
wrong,
remember that.
and you didn't wanna talk about it, and I was like, "I need to know if it was me. I just need you to tell me if it was me, and then I can move on," and you said was, "I miss my mom," and I completely, dropped it because I was like, "I don't know what to do for
Because
you from here."
the one thing I'm gonna go back to is, I look back on it, and I've because my sister was the one that was pissed.
Yeah.
She's like, we can't even touch her. She can't hear us in these damn things."
Mhm.
And I look back and I'm like, because I didn't do anything. I didn't put up any fight like that.
Yeah.
They had two of those breather things for my sister and my dad, and I was like, I'll be the one that's because they were like, "We gotta go find another one for you." And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, I'll wait outside the room for it." And I just sat there looking at, because they have the monitors for different rooms, and I saw somebody else's monitor, and it's all level, like all their levels are fine. Then I saw my mom's monitor. It just says her it says her whole name, full name, and her levels are all crazy. Like, they're all like, not crazy, but they're really shallow
Yeah.
and they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. This is it. This is the moment I've been fearing for
Years.
years. And um so they finally got me hooked up and all this, this pretty much, you feel like you're on the moon. You're hooked up into like you're like in this giant, like you're in this igloo suit, kind of. It's just breathing on its own.
Yeah.
And there's constant air flowing in your head because you're wearing this big mask, this giant like helmet or like hood thing. And I wish I put up a fight more. I wish I look back and I'm like, I would just rip that fucking thing off.
Yeah.
I don't care if they drag me out of there. I wanted to put both my hands on my mom's face and tell her, "We are here. We are here, and we're gonna be okay." And that's what we tried to tell her as much as I could, because
Yeah.
they told us she could hear us. But to finally get off this, because this sucks to talk about,
I'm sorry.
but
I
to
didn't mean to
no,
bring it
you're
up.
fine. I knew at some point this was gonna come out. This is the big episode. It's got all the stuff in it. And sad, happy, sad,
This
mad,
is a
sad,
heavy
happy.
episode.
And but to get back to this, I was on bereavement, because my mother died. And what? How long was it?
Not very long.
Week?
Yeah. And they were
I,
like, "You gotta come
well,
back."
hold on. Not just that. Got a call. With how long you been out? We think you're ready. We think you're ready to come back. We think you should come back. I'm still under shock because
Yeah.
my mom's gone. I have no fight in me. There's no fight. I'm not gonna fight anything, 'cause I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired, and I don't know what the hell's going
And
on.
your body was still recovering from being sick. So
I'll still
not
work.
only are you
I
mentally
could.
exhausted from the
Oh,
weight of losing your
hold on,
own mother,
hold on.
you're physically exhausted.
Yeah, because when I went back, I pick up. I can pick up. Just I can throw half-inch, 4 by 8 sheets of OSB or plywood just
Yeah.
right over my shoulder. I could barely pick up one
Right. I
because
remember you telling me that.
I was still so because when you come like my when my dad had COVID, he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
All because what he's always been very muscular for my entire life. His arms were thin.
Yeah,
He
I remember
lost a
that.
lot of muscle and weight, and I was like, wow, I've never even seen him in this state before. This is those very very alien to me, and but then I noticed it myself. I couldn't breathe when I was picking stuff. I was like, I can't pick this up, and I'd have to take stops and breaks just to breathe often. Eventually, I got out of that, but the way they were like, "Ah, you've been out long enough. You can come back."
Mhm.
Out. What was I? What am I on? Fucking vacation?
Yeah.
I was sick with COVID, and then my mom died.
Yeah.
I'm not the one day I was out, not one day I was out, I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Not fucking 1 minute.
No.
We think you're out long enough. Really?
Mhm.
We th I couldn't I didn't I was like, "Okay," 'cause
Yeah.
I didn't wanna put up a fight. But now, oh my really?
Yeah.
Really? What do you think, I'm on a vacation?
Right.
And
Meanwhile,
because
my
no,
job was
because I
surprised
because
I went back so fast.
because I went back and everybody was like, "You're back already?"
Yeah,
A lot of my coworkers thought I would be out longer because
because you
I
lost your mom.
I was out with COVID, and then I was, back for a week, and then my mom died, and then I was
Mhm.
out. They're like, "Fuck, that's hard.
Yeah.
You got sick with COVID, you're still recovering from that shit."
Mhm.
And no, some people aren't close to their parents. Well, I don't remember exactly what day. Forgive me. It's in May. Mother's Day?
Yeah.
And
May I don't fucking remember. It's the weekend after.
please remind me because now you're a mother, so I can Mother's Day, I can treat you, please.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna be making plans with my mom too.
okay.
So you'll have me for the morning, but I wanna take my mom out and,
Because
like,
I
go
was able
walking
to
around with
enjoy
Jay.
Father's Day because I
Yeah.
was a brand new father at the time.
Yeah.
You
We had
weren't.
her right before Father's Day.
Right.
I was
And
pregnant during Mother's Day. I mean, I still got cards and stuff, but
but and yeah, because in yeah, that's why I brought that up. It's coming up to Mother's Day. If you got a mother and you have a good relationship with her, just call her right now.
give her a hug.
Give her a hug, call her right now. And no matter where you're sitting in life, the one thing a parent that truly cares about their kids and their well-being of their kids and hope just they pray that they've raised them correctly.
Mhm.
Tell your parents. I feel good. I don't feel this guilt because I told my mom that my mom and my dad raised me good.
Yeah.
They did what they could and they raised me well. And every time I'd tell her because eventually every once in a while I'd
I
just
told your mom that multiple times
and every
too.
time I would tell her, she would just start crying and give me a hug and
I
thank
have
you. And she would just say thank you. And what I'm getting at, you have a mother that cares about you. Just call her. Call her right now, or if you have the means, just give her a hug and
yeah.
tell her that you did good. You did. I am I
I'm proud of you.
I'm
Tell her you're proud of her.
sorry. I'm blanking. It's just there's a lot. Just show her that you acknowledge that it takes a lot, even
Mhm.
if you don't have kids, even if you don't know, and if you still have your parents, just because the biggest meaningful thing is that your kids said tell you they acknowledge that you did what you could
Right.
and you loved them to the best of your ability. And I'm happy I took advantage of that while my mom was here. But the biggest thing I wish to everybody is to, you know, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
Yeah.
Your parents are there since you were born. You're used to them being there all the time. They're gone. It's a whole new
Well, and I
world.
feel like
It's a whole new world, and it's dark.
I
And
f
I'm telling you, I'm telling it's. And I thought I was like, okay, my mom being gone, but literally, she went on the 2nd of October. We found out that that my wife, my now wife, is pregnant at October 15th,
yeah. The
and
day before we were supposed to get married,
the
because
day before we
we
were supposed to get
canceled
married.
our wedding because his mom died.
And so I was like, okay, one of my mom's biggest things she always said is everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
Maybe she passed. She was always, and I feel terrible because she was always so excited to experience our kid.
Right.
She's experienced
She
she experienced
she
sh
repeatedly asked me if I was pregnant the entire
she was so
5 years
excited.
we were only together for, like, 3 years at that time,
She was
but
so excited for that because she embraced being a grandma so much.
mhm.
She wasn't really old. She wasn't
No,
old. She wasn't like old grandma.
no.
She was in her early 50s.
She's only
And
10 years older than my mom, and my
right,
mom was a young parent
because
when she had
both my
me.
parents were born in 67.
Mhm.
And so they're not boomers. Just get that out there. They're not
They're
boomers.
early Gen X, the same generation my
And
mom is in.
so yeah, because they were in high school in the 80s.
Mhm.
And my mom, she was always family oriented.
Yeah.
She I grew up because she ran daycare, and I grew up in her daycare. So
Mhm.
I was always by my mom,
Right.
and I was always in her house. And my mom was she's very she's I couldn't imagine her being more loving, but
Yeah.
also not coddling, because when it came to it, if I was being stupid, she would damn well let me
Your
know.
your mom was good at calling people out on their shit. That's
Be
the one thing I did admire her for. She was a really good shit caller.
and yeah, and it's funny because she's a really good shit caller. She's very loving, but she was what, 5'5", 5.
No, because 'cause I'm 5'6". So your mom was probably like 5 foot.
She was short, you
She
know,
was a short girl.
and uh, but yeah, just all that, and so everything happens for a reason. It's a good way of looking at life.
Mhm.
You know, if things starting to get into you, everything happens for a reason. I looked at that. Maybe that was how it's supposed to play out. You
Right.
know,
It sucks, but
she never got to even know that even know that we were going to have a kid.
yeah.
But
And for those of you that are saying, "She knows. She knew. She's still here." That doesn't comfort me
it's
personally.
it does a little bit
It for me, it
because
doesn't.
she's literally here. Because we didn't bury her.
Right,
Because
no, yeah.
we did what we did what she absolutely she didn't wanna be buried. She wanted to be cremated, and she's here, and she's got her little box that she's in, and it's nice, and it's exactly her style, which we'll get into that some other time. Is she was very keen on, like, she was extremely good at decorating with, like,
Mhm.
the industrial look, with but
Old
also, like, old
farmhousey, yeah.
farmhouse, shiplap walls. She got very
Your
good at
mom
decor
had
and
style.
it took a while, but me, my dad, and my sister found the exact thing that she would have picked. She would have looked at that and said,
That's it.
that looks like it."
Yeah.
And that's what she's in, and she's here.
Mhm.
And so, it makes me feel a little better that she's and every time I was here, I was like, I just feel better because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm by her.
Right.
I'm by what she took, something she cared so much about, and because she loved where she lived. She loved where she lived, but all at the end of this, just at the end of all this, you know, having our daughter brought light back into
Yeah.
my life because like, going through that loss, that traumatic. Because my mom was the glue that held everybody together.
And
She
that's
was, and hold on, and
every time
hold
Dylan
on.
every time Dylan says, "Hold on, take a shot."
Every time Mary starts talking while I'm still talking, I take a shot.
It's just because I have a thought and I wanna get it out before I forget about it.
I do the
I've
sa
already forgot about what
I
I
do
was
the same
thinking.
shit too. You'll start talking about, "Oh, wait,
Yeah. No,
wait,
no, 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 hold on.
wait."
Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait.
So, but just now, our daughter's here, and life's still bright, but it's still dark at the same time
Yeah.
because that whole thing, and it still pisses me off sometimes of
It
how
always will.
things I regret not doing by just
Yeah.
fighting for my mom more because I feel like I didn't fight for her.
Yeah.
I just let it happen. That's the thing I have guilt for, that I didn't fight for her. I just let it happen,
Yeah.
even though we only had a couple options, and
Right.
that's it. And but we were pretty much at the disposal of where we were at with the hospital, and it's like if they just unhooked her, she'd out right there, and that's essentially what happened.
Yeah.
They just did it slowly, and so it's not like we could have just came back home and she'd have been home.
Right.
Uh, but you know, take don't take your parents for granted. Granted. uh, but and just take the. I hope you guys out there have a good relationship with your family.
Yeah.
And this coming Mother's Day, show mom some love, please. There's some people out there don't have a mom anymore.
Yeah.
And so I urge everybody out there that's got a mom that they at least have somewhat of a good relationship with.
Mhm.
Just
Or if you even if, like, if you don't have a good relationship with your mom or your mom is not physically present, if you have a friend whose mom is kind of like your mom, thank them.
yeah, just think them if they took part in helping or in raising you to who you are now, thank
Yes.
them.
Yep.
Just thank them, please. And what should it just occurred to me, what the hell are we gonna call this?
I don't think we had a name for it. I didn't even know what we were talking about until we got on the microphones.
I I just thought of just saying calling this the big one
Yeah,
because this was the big one.
it was the big one.
Ah, fuck. That was a roller coaster.
It got really heavy really
It was a
fast.
roller coaster.
Yeah.
I'm winded. That
Yeah.
was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
God, I haven't talked about that shit in a while. But come Mother's Day, thank your mom. And you got any questions at all of anything for me and Mary? Email me at hellspopsiclespodcast@gmail.com.
Mhm.
We'll answer them. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night.